Alright, hello and welcome to the Postgrad Year. Today we're going to be talking about the Commonplace book, and yes, my version's a binder. But today we'll be focused on data, specifically the data on Commonplace books on YouTube. I looked at 470 thumbnails to figure out what I was doing wrong and how to improve. And it turns out I should be making Commonplace book binder videos instead. But we're going to review the data so that other people can figure out their own content. Now, what you just saw me doing was a little bit different than normal, so let's look at that. So here we have the tabs, but they're not all tabs. So these are note cards, and I'm not sure if you can see this little bit, but that, it's just extra paper. So what that allows me to do, sorry, the floor is really loud right now. So what that allows me to do is to figure out exactly where I'm supposed to be when I'm recording, because I need to look through a bunch of different spots, and it's not designed to be recorded, it's designed to be worked on, so I need to flip around. But now that we're focused on one spot, I can take this out. So what we're focused on is on one page. Just kidding, it's 2 pages. So now going back to the first page, what we're looking at is Commonplace book, other languages. And I added year 3 because this is the 3rd year of the channel. So thanks for watching. So what it says is that several languages are listed. And I'm not sure if this is totally accurate because as somebody goes through 470 thumbnails, there's a possibility something will be uploaded as they're looking through it because it takes a long time to write that down. And sometimes YouTube doesn't always order things properly. So what I did is I searched everything by view count, not by upload date. And what that means is I got to start at the top instead of the bottom, which would have been very frustrating. But the point is, this should be fairly accurate. But I recorded these on like November 3rd of 2023, something like that. So if you recorded something or uploaded it around that time, it may be in a different location in the order. Or simply lost to time. So I ordered the languages into 10 groups, and I'm going to read those out now. So out of the groups, which equal 40 in total, 1 Chinese, 3 French, 1 German, 2 Japanese, 1 Korean, 1 other European, 23 Portuguese. So whoever's making Portuguese videos, good job, because that's a lot. 6 Spanish, and 1 Thai. So pretty confident about the Thai, not super confident about the Portuguese, because they might be, Spanish, Catalan, Italian. I might have somehow confused them. You never know. And of course we don't know which version of Portuguese. Is it Portuguese? Is it Brazilian Portuguese? Might even be from Angola. Who knows? So whenever I would make these categories, which I hope I talked about in the last video, or at least the big video, which is like 40 minutes long, but I would delete the video with the fewest views. So that way over time my data set would improve, and I would only be looking at the things that people actually watch. So, according to this, the video with the fewest views was Portuguese. Which makes sense, because if there are 28 videos out of 40, it's probably going to be one of those. So it says I deleted it because it only had 28 views, and the object wasn't even in focus. So people couldn't really tell what they were looking at, or at least that was my assumption as to why nobody was watching it. Now on the next page, according to what's at the bottom of this one, the things I needed to look up are located on the next page. So let's go to that. All right, now we're on page 2. So what I have listed here is Portuguese, French, and Turkish. Now, Turkish wasn't listed, so I assume the other language was Turkish, but I might have just listed that as other European, although I think the other European language was probably Finnish, because I don't think I listed that. But like I said, this is a very rough look at data. I'm basically just being the first person in the space to do this, so if someone comes along and does a much better job, good for them. Now, if we're looking at Portuguese specifically, we can see that it takes up almost the entire page. So why would I do that? Well, I did that because I didn't know what the heck anything meant. So I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of these things properly, as I mentioned in my languages video, which for me hasn't even come out yet, and is coming out, I believe, on February 14th, which would be Valentine's Day, which is kind of funny. There are no languages of love in there, unless you want to count French as a language of love, which is very humorous for a lot of people around the world. But in American media, that's normally how it works, and that's not really relevant. What is, however, relevant is the fact that many of these Portuguese words said things like journal, notes, how to make, use, project, to speak, highlighted, registration, commonplace, lost in the library, recording your journey, tool, and other ways of organizing life, creating, system. So these things are very useful for figuring out what sort of categories I should have, where I should actually put these items, because what I do, remember, is I go through, sort everything, pull 10 sorted sections to the side, look through the information, delete the one at the bottom, and then redistribute all of the items. So that way I can, mix the data a little bit so that if I screwed something up the first time, I will have a backup. It means I'm continuing to get rid of the worst material, which is quite nice. And it took a lot of work to grab the 470 thumbnails in the first place, so if I don't use the information multiple times, I'm going to feel a little bit like I wasted my time. Especially if, like I said, I don't do it properly. So now it's time for French. Now, you might be wondering why I only wrote things down for 3 languages. And the reason for that is because I kind of didn't care for the other ones. But also, I wasn't really sure how to look anything up for Thai, for example. So I'm just like, I don't know. Good luck with that. Yeah, I know you can, copy-paste. But another thing I didn't mention, which is probably obvious, is I didn't always put in the largest amount of time, because I don't know how this is going to be received. It might be that the big video on all of this was supremely hated on, and none of these videos are actually going to be public, which would suck, because I'm recording literally 50 of these at a minimum, and also a short to go along with each one. So if these all go down, I'm going to be a little annoyed. But it's very possible that nobody really even cares, because as of recording, there are only 23 subscribers, and 3 of them showed up in the last month. So thanks for coming, but there are not a lot of people here. So on to French. Enfin, je pense. I don't speak French, I'm sorry. Finally, at points. And what is the? So neither of those are super helpful or relevant. The Portuguese stuff was a lot more interesting, and other ways of organizing life. That's really interesting to have in the title. It's not exactly the normal thing, and something like recording your journey, that's helpful. I might be able to use that as a title at some point. So on to Turkish. And the Turkish word, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce because it's in Turkish and I don't know how to do that, is why. Why? That's a good question. One I don't really have the answer to, but if you check the next video, maybe you can figure out why I'm doing this, if you haven't figured that out already. Okay, bye.